Twin Bill, where you can get your fill of hosts Jason and Marcus talking about movies and stuff. You know you never can get enough. A twin is two people who are related. Twin Bill. This season is Razzie Mania. Everywhere around the world, they're watching Twin Bill.
In America.
Go to YouTube or go to Apple Podcasts and listen to watch Twin Bill.
In America.
My country 'tis of thee. That's not right.
Sweet land of Twinbility.
Yep. Hello.
Again. Hello.
Hello again.
Hello.
We're doing another podcast episode. I could do every song in the movie, but my version. You want my sunshine, my podcast sunshine.
Love on the rocks.
Podcast version.
I'll pour you a drink and tell you all lies.
Tell you podcast stories. All right, after that brilliant introduction, welcome to Twin Bill, the show that this season has Razzie Mania. Wow. Last week we did a movie that was kind of good and tried to do another movie that was bad to go with it. Jazz Singer, bad on its own. America, fuck yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about how I saw this movie before and you didn't and stuff, but the result was the same. So let's get into the production stuff.
Well, I just want to say that I did watch, what was it? I Love the 80s. I don't know if it was part 2 or part 1 or part 3. They covered this movie, so I felt like I in a way, did watch it before. But this is the first time I've seen every scene, consecutively.
And of course, we've both seen the, which we'll talk about a little bit, I guess, not really, the Al Jolson silent film
homage,
which was better than this movie.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the homage in terms of
oh no,
being able to look in a certain scene.
Oh, the blackface, but no, they actually the whole blackface movie, which I still thought was better than this movie. But
yes, it's better made. Problematic, but yes.
Yes, we'll talk a little bit about that in what we're going to do right now. Let's talk about the people behind this infamous movie where people are like Neil Diamond, definitely an actor. All right. So The Jazz Singer was released in 1980. Here's a fun story. So it was directed by Richard Fleischer, whose peak of terms of making movies was the 50s. But he's probably most famous now for the movies he did around this time. Did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's pretty good.
James Mason is Captain Nemo, right?
Yeah. Kirk Douglas is the guy with the American one. Ned.
Let's move on.
Something. Yeah. I read the book a long time ago. A Fantastic Voyage with Raquel Welch, which I have not seen, based on
the Coolio music video. That's so weird.
Come along and go in the bloodstream. Okay, it's not a musical episode of it's loosely based on an Isaac Asimov book. No, it's some other book. Okay, well, it's not a different podcast. Okay, he also did a movie we both liked. It's very strange. Soylent Green.
Very good.
And then weirdly, IMDb wanted me to know he directed Red Sonja with Brigitte Nielsen.
That was not well after this, but
at least 5 to 7 years after this.
Probably around when Fleischer died, because I think he died in the 80s or something.
Yeah, what do we go out? So Richard Fleischer, kind of a workman's director, not really an auteur. Interesting fact about this movie, it was originally supposed to be directed and partially was directed by a man named Sidney Furie. Did you know who Sidney Furie was before this came up on our discussions?
Sounds like a Street Fighter character, but no, I don't know who that is.
Sidney Furie, similar to Richard Fleischer in a way, because they're both prolific directors. Sidney Furie gained a bit of prominence in the early 70s because, in a move that sounds somewhat familiar, he took Diana Ross, a popular singer with no previous acting experience, and made a movie with her called Lady Sings the Blues. And Lady Sings the Blues got good reviews for its acting, and Diana Ross enjoyed working with him. And Neil Diamond hated working with Sidney Furie, and the production fell behind schedule, and Sidney Furie was fired from this movie.
Oh, I thought the way you described that they worked on it together to direct certain scenes or something.
No, it was basically Sidney Furie was the idea was Sidney Furie would coach him up on his acting while they were going, and Neil Diamond wasn't doing that.
Don't coach me up. I know how to act.
I'm a singer in America. Yeah, but yeah, he didn't ask him to get fired per se, but the production was out of control, so it was bound to happen. Uh, that's it as far as director. Uh, this movie. Um, okay, so technically, well, not technically. I'm sure that someone got paid, but this movie is based on a script written by Samson and Rafelson, who wrote the 1927 silent-ish jazz singer movie. Uh, and he later wrote all of the famous Ernst Lubitsch comedies,
Wow.
like Heaven Can Wait.
Shop around the corner.
Yeah. And he also developed Hitchcock's Suspicion.
Good for him. Sounds very talented.
Sounds better in this movie.
And then he was writing long enough that he wrote this before this for this.
no, he got a screenwriting credit because they adapted his 1927 screenplay because it's an existing property.
Okay.
And then in the first version, the Sidney Furie version. Well, actually, no, this is actually before Sidney Furie, I think. Because, okay, more backstory. So, we'll get to the producer Jerry Leder in a second. But he saw Neil Diamond on TV, and he's like, we need to make a movie with Neil Diamond in it. He's the next Barbra Streisand. That's basically what he said. And then, so they're like, oh, we've done old movies with these hip actors before. Let's do the jazz singer. And MGM spent a lot of money developing the jazz singer. And then at some point, someone at MGM said, you know what? This movie seems like it's really Jewish. And they quit. And then Paramount formed a partnership with EMI. Paramount quit on that. And then EMI took over. But while all that's going, the whole point of that was there was a draft of the script written by Stephen Foreman, who did not have much claim to fame. His biggest credit I could find is he made a TV movie that came out in the 80s called Hostage, in which Carol Burnett is kidnapped, but later befriends her captor. Sounds like a fun romp.
Carol Burnett in peril, befriending her captor. Wow.
I mean, she's good at comedy, so it just sounds like a comedy premise. I don't know.
It was a funny hostage movie.
Yeah, it's like an endearing female friendship movie that was.
I was envisioning like even befriending your captor to try to survive because you're about that you think you're going to get
No,
killed.
it's one of those. I don't know much about the plot, but I imagine the premise for the kidnapping was not as mean spirited as it would sound on the initial broad premise. But anyway, so his adaptation didn't get used, but it was done enough that he got credit. And then the official script is written by Herbert Baker, who, much like Richard Fleischer, peaked in the 50s. He wrote a ton of like Martin and Lewis comedies. And also the 1980 jazz singer. I'm sensing a theme with dated concepts for an 80s movie. Yes.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, the producer is Jerry Leder. Aside from, well, some people are dead, but most of the people who are in this movie are not working now in acting. But Jerry Leder is still producing, including, among other things, the original Wonder Woman TV show in the 70s, and a movie we saw in theaters. I'm sure we loved it. Confessions of a Drama Queen with Lindsay Lohan.
Opposite of loved it. My God.
But the point is, he had a career that literally never stopped. He never really had a big prestigious hit, but he had just kept doing these things that got made.
Well, I'm not too fond of it. Bring up that crap as an example of his work.
Well, Wonder Woman. So the music in this movie is there's a lot more musical involvement in this movie than you would think for a Neil Diamond songbook show. As you might expect, there's some music by Neil Diamond in this film. I don't know if you noticed or not.
Just a little bit.
It's very subtle, yeah. And then a songwriting credit for Richard Bennett, who was a longtime sideman for Neil Young. And currently
Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond. But I put Neil Young in here. No, nope. Moving on. And now is the sideman for Mark Knopfler, formerly of Dire Straits.
Yeah, no, good for Mark. He's still going.
Good for Richard Bennett too. Making that money. And then the weird one is okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry. Songwriting credit for he was a semi-famous singer in his own right, French singer named Gilbert. I don't know how you pronounce this. Bécaud, Becaud.
Sure. Because I don't know.
He wrote our favorite song, "Love on the Rocks." Co-wrote "Love on the Rocks" with Neil Diamond.
Oh my gosh, so much about Love on the Rocks.
And then he also co-wrote the song, it's weird. It's a weird song. The Robert E. Lee, whatever it's called. Coming along on the Robert E. Lee. So it's a up-tempo number. That's all I remember.
The one he plays in the banjo.
Probably.
There's one where he just busts out a banjo. At one point, he just busts out a banjo. It's so weird.
He also co-wrote "Summer Love," "Hey Louise," and "Songs of Life." I don't remember any of those, but they're all in the movie. And then actual score by a well-respected score man, Leonard Rosenman. He did Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Freaking Barry Lyndon. That's an awesome score.
Yeah.
Good movie too, obviously. I guess you'd rather watching that than this. And then he did the score to La La Land. It's like he's working forever.
Really?
All right, let's get to the cast. Maybe where Neil Diamond is in the movie
Today.
as Usul Rabinovich, but on stage what's his stage name, Marcus?
Robin, but I can't remember his first name.
Jess Rabin.
Attorney at law.
He's a Jewish cantor in New York City who dreams of going to Los Angeles and singing Neil Diamond songs.
Yep.
And he didn't really act after this movie. Shocking, I know. But he did play himself in Saving Silverman, a movie we'll probably talk about on this show
And
30 years.
keeping up with some Jewish last name, where it's a movie about the kid from Spy Kids has a bar mitzvah coming up. They get Neil Diamond to play. Neil Diamond plays that, and he plays himself.
Not as bad as Saving Silverman, but yes.
It's much worse than Saving Silverman. Pretty boring movie.
Saving Silverman is horrible.
So said keeping up with the whatever movie I'm describing.
Okay, we're gonna have a cage fight after this off camera about how bad Saving Silverman really is.
No! Okay, turn us into debate about me defending Saving Silverman.
All right. Keep on with the cast. That wasn't the point of my anecdote, was that to defend or detract from Saving Silverman. It was just an anecdote. Whatever. Next cast member, Laurence Olivier as Cantor Rabinovich. He's Usel's / Jess's dad, who is my notes I put retired. I think he's just old and about to and should be retired.
He's not retired. He's still the cantor. That's why Neil Diamond's the assistant cantor.
And he really doesn't want his son to do Neil Diamond songs because
The 5 generations of cantors can't do anything else.
I mean, halfway through this movie, I'm like, Laurence Olivier's got some good points. And okay, so I have an interesting anecdote as to this show with Laurence Olivier, because the Razzies, I think, as we'll get to, were like, hey, Laurence Olivier is doing this weird thing in The Jazz Singer. We should nominate him for a Razzie. And they're like, this is the craziest thing Laurence Olivier is going to do. And there's at least 2 movies that we'll get to eventually that are much worse than The Jazz Singer that Laurence Olivier was in that were nominated for Razzies. So I think it's funny that the Razzies thought this was like peak weird Laurence Olivier, and then he just outdid himself.
Yeah, it's probably relatively authentic since Olivier is such a professional his whole life, but it's just, I think the Razzie nominating committee or whoever was attracted to his weird accent in this movie.
I think it's fair. It's kind of talk about the blackface in this movie. The Jewish voice is probably more annoying to me. And then, Shakespeare Marathon Man, great actor for 50 years, then just started doing shit in the 80s. And then we have Lucy Arnaz, the daughter of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz Sr. as Molly. How do you say that? Belengo Cavella? They say it once in the movie, I think.
Call her Molly. They
Mo-
don't say the rest of the movie.
Molly Bell is her gimmick name because she lives in LA. So even though she's not a performer, she has to have a stage name. She's a LA record business type who becomes Usel's / Jess's manager, later lover. I'm talking downtown. All right.
Okay.
So we have Caitlin Adams as Rivka Rabinovich, Yussel's New York City Jewish wife, who really doesn't want Neil Diamond doing Neil Diamond things.
I think I would be more interested if they cut her out, even though I don't know.
She's a good actress, though. Do you ever see you saw The Jerk, right?
It's been a while, but yeah.
Do you remember the biker who forces herself to marry Steve Martin?
No.
Give me a bite of that corn dog. That was Caitlin Adams in The Jerk. Very funny role.
Nice.
Better than this movie.
Yes. Just bring up movies and say it's better than this movie.
All right.
You chose the Razzies. You're gonna stop doing that.
It's just a fun joke to make, though. Okay. And then there are two African American celebrities that kids today would know in this movie in small parts. Can you name both of them?
Well, first one I can't remember his actor name, but he's the all of Robert Townsend movies, and then he's in Friday. He's the manager of the theater where Neil Diamond does blackface.
Yes, his name is John Witherspoon. He's a very good actor. Yes.
Isn't? And then so I think you're thinking of this guy. Was that Ernie Hudson in the audience who points out that Neil Diamond's not
Yes.
fully not black?
In the credits, he's known as Heckler because he just yells at Neil Diamond at the Black Club.
Look at his hands. I mean, that was pretty stupid. If you're gonna go blackface, you gotta stick your hands in the dip or whatever you call your blackface.
If you're gonna do blackface, make sure you do a very thorough job that's consistent. Good advice. Yes.
Don't do blackface, but if you do, commit to your visible body parts.
And of course, Ernie Hudson's in Ghostbusters, but he's also in a ton of random B movies that no one remembers. And Oz. I love Oz. I guess.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the film reader criteria. Let's just talk about some stuff. So, I sent you the
Yep, you sent me everything.
poster and the
Yep.
the tagline
Yep.
and the trailer.
Yep.
I'll read the tagline real quick. His story will make you cry. I'm so sad. His music will make you sing. His triumph will make you cheer. All the ad stuff is so pretentious. And then the poor preview, they just show random clips of the movie and have Deep Voice Guy be like, "This is the most important movie ever made."
Not much else you can do. It's gotta. Obviously, Neil Diamond's gonna be the center of everything. That's why I'm banking on that. Obviously, well, he wrote for the Monkees in the '60s. Well, how long had he been singing before this movie came out? Like, popular singing, his. Because
At least the whole of the 70s, pretty much, I think. But yeah.
Because spoiler to I think this movie, it has many flaws, but the music and how it translates to the plot, both are a much higher caliber than Can't Stop the Music.
We'll get there when we get there.
But I'm just
comparisons.
See why a studio might think this could make a movie because it's.
Okay, I thought the trailer was a little sloppy because they just shoved scenes in there to make it try to be like this is dramatic when it wasn't that dramatic. So I gave if I scored the whole thing, I gave it a 3 out of 10 because. Oh, and I want to make a joke about the poster because The Simpsons. So, hey, jazz singer poster, what do you do? Look closer, Lenny. Oh, you're the biggest man in the world now, and you're covered in gold. See the poster is coming.
Yep.
It's kind of silly because the whole crux of criticizing this movie is You have Neil Diamond, who is an AM accessible pop singer. He's not even like a great singer. He's not the most amazing songwriter. And you make a movie where his songs are like gonna make change the world or make his life have meaning and stuff. It's just weird.
I just think you like Neil Diamond more than I do, and I feel like you're kind of bashing him, right? I think he's a talented pop artist.
He's okay sometimes. I like some of his songs. The movie sucks. That's the crux of my argument. Yes, but okay, the ad campaign. If you give it a score 1 out of 10, what would you give it?
It's hard to sell any, and history has kind of shown that it's hard to sell any pop movie, especially a narrative one. A concert film would make more sense. Like, I think Bieber's concert film did really well. That's much more later, but it's hard to sell a narrative film with a musical artist like this. And you have people, obviously Olivier is a very talented actor who's done a lot, but you needed, it's the problem with the movie and the problem with the ad campaign is Neil Diamond centric. I guess that was a cash grab to get all the Neil Diamond. I know I'm taking too long. It's hard to describe the kiss.
Did you like the trailer or not? That's all you can say.
Uh, it's a lot like the film, which I guess the trailer should be, so you know what you're getting.
It's fair.
But average, I guess, maybe slightly below because it doesn't. And the movie struggles with this too, narrative intrigue. So the movie's probably worse. So give the trailer a higher score, like a 5.5. I don't know.
Fair. All right, let's talk about characters. All I have to say about the characters are, they're not the worst. Like I felt like it was like you could kind of watch them, they're kind of listenable, but it felt like they were really sort of pushing the plot through the movie, which is kind of disappointing for a movie like this, where you want drama and stuff. And Neil Diamond, he may be a great actor later in his life or something, but he sort of is kind of expressionless and talks in the same way all the time. And he's the star, and it drags everything down. So, like a 4 out of 10 just because of that.
He can only play himself. Rivka and Olivier are caricatures more than characters, where they're very needy and solely obstacles to Neil Diamond doing what he's doing. So the only real variety you get, because it's a very small cast in terms of supporting characters, his bandmates, which are 4 black guys, barely get any screen time.
I was gonna say basically one bandmate for any lines at all. But,
And then it's the only character with some sort of variability, because Neil Diamond does basically play himself, which is probably the biggest problem with this movie. Just not an actor. Is Arnaz, Mrs. Arnaz, Molly, but her character is a weird pastiche of lover drawn into a difficult situation and screwball comedy. Like she's trying to be like what's Rosalind Russell for My Girl Friday, or and maybe shouldn't be doing singing in the first place.
yeah, I think what I liked about Lucy Hernandez's character, she's easily the best actor in this whole movie, is there is a humanity to it. Like a real person would try to break up some of the things with levity and try to connect with Neil Diamond through that. And so it's hard because she's the only character I like, and she's kind of weighed down by everything else. So I can't give it that high of a score, but at the same time, I thought she did a good job. And it was if more people were like her, it would have been a more naturalistic movie, in my opinion. But yeah, all right. I guess you get to go first on this one. How do you feel about the quality or the naturalness of the dialogue?
It's pretty terrible. It's what you would expect based on the plot. Um, you're telling me about a pop. It's a very probably get structural plot next actually, so don't guess too much spoilers. But I think this does impact the dialogue because
Mm-hmm.
what you would expect from a very religious. I think The Simpsons was playing on this kind of with Krusty the Clown.
Yes, that's the jazz singer trope is the Jewish son who wants to be an artist and ends up leaving the tribe.
It's all this movie is a trope. So then the dialogue just feeds the trope, and so the parts in New York in the synagogue area or whatever for the in the beginning are unbearable. Because why do you want to go to LA? You have to be a cantor. And
Yeah.
then try to get some levity with the LA stuff, but then it's just I want to write songs to make people happy. It's just there's no lines of dialogue that I watched this movie a few days ago, and there's no lines of dialogue that's like, oh, that was a great line or anything. It's just
Yeah.
feeding the trope of showbiz versus family.
Yeah.
It's very poor.
So I just want to say about the dialogue. Plot-driven dialogue is bad in general because it slows down the audiences. The audience gets ahead of it, and they're like, "Yeah, we get it. You're doing the plot." And then, but a movie like this, like I don't know if this movie actually had Oscar adaptations. It did get Golden Globe nominations, which we'll talk about later. But when you're doing an Oscar movie, that's the one time. Just take a break from the plot every once in a while. Just have characters sit in the room and like naturalistically say something that's not linked to anything and be emotional. And this movie just never really did that. Even Lucy Arnaz, when she says lines that I liked, maybe it's just still about Jess and about the music business. This movie would be terrible for the Bechdel test. There's no female thing. I just want to mention that as a general theme of lack of human connection in this movie. It's very plot driven, and it is it's you talk about the tropey thing, which you implied, but Rivka and Laurence Olivier, all they talk about is Jewish stuff all the time. No, who does that? No one. That's it. So let's do the structure. Roulette. I call it roulette. That's not anything. Can delete this because it's from the last episode. You know my scenes. Look, America. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the opening image of the movie. It's just basically like the I Love LA, but it's New York because they just play music and show B-roll of like roller skaters in New York and stuff.
Not that clever, but Coming to America is an immigrant song, and there's a lot of Jews in that opening montage.
Yep.
And so Coming to America is an immigrant song, so it's somewhat clever.
It sets up the theme of the movie, which is Judaism, which is literally there's a menorah-shaped baseball bat hitting the audience over the head with it. The protagonist movie, it's a rare movie where it's very clear. We got you sold Jess Robin, the cantor who is literally hustling to a musical gig in the first scene or couple scenes of the movie.
I write songs that want to make people happy.
I actually like that. I know he was wearing blackface, but that song he played in the blackface gig was pretty good too.
Yeah, a lot of songs were catchy.
So yeah, like I mentioned, the ordinary world is very clear. He's a Jewish cantor who has to basically lie to his dad in order to go downtown with Franklin Ajayi and his African American band friends to play in a black club.
Assistant cantor, which I think adds to his torture, is that
he's waiting in the wings for a full-time job.
well, and then he works for his dad, and he wants to desperately leave his dad and write songs for a living, but he's forced to in his daily job to be with his dad every day working.
Yep, and he's coaching kids how to do those boring. No offense to my many Jewish friends in this podcast, but those boring Jewish songs.
It's how you become a man.
What's that from? Oh, it's Godfather. Think like a man.
You sing your songs in Hebrew and become a man.
Yeah. So what does he need to do? I mean, this movie. This movie is like, of all its flaws, this is like a movie structure coloring book for babies because it's like, what?
It's just like a TV movie. It's just
I know, but
can't believe it's got released in theaters.
my point is, they do a very good job to the point of almost being deliberate and hitting you over the head with a baseball bat, shaped like a menorah. But because what does he need to do to improve his world? They tell you right away. He needs to be able to do the music all the times and not just part time when his dad's not looking.
And before you can even think what he needs to do, he gets what he needs to do when I forgot his name, Lennox something hears this song in L.A. He's like this fictional pop star and needs him to fly out to L.A. to give feedback on his recording.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense because the structure sort of unfolds itself. You can't answer the next question because what event sucks him from his day-to-day life into the big story? Franklin Ajayi, what's the name of the actor who plays the speaking role in the band? Fun fact about Franklin Ajayi, he did stand-up comedy about Star Trek on Saturday Night Live in the 1970s. But anyway,
What the fuck is a Vulcan?
it was pretty close. He did a Spock impression. It was pretty good. But, I mean, as far as 70s stand-up comedy goes. But anyway, Franklin Ajayi took his band to L.A. and my understanding is he kind of sold, because he sold a Jess Robbins song to that guy you said, the David Bowie knockoff,
Something Lennox. Or Lennox something.
angry British singer with the blonde hair. So Jess Robin has to fly out to L.A., convinces his dad, hey, it's only going to be for
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And it's weird because his dad's like, if you go, you're never going to come back. And then like a scene later, his dad's like, well, you got to go. I don't know, it just seemed like it was very like, his wife was the same thing.
Well, he says, oh, well, it's going to be, you said it's going to be 2 weeks, so I believe you because he does like his son, especially in the beginning. So he trusts him. It's going to be 2 weeks. Obviously turns into a bold-faced lie.
Yeah. So yeah, we get pretty quickly into what the quote-unquote fun and games of this movie is. Obviously, that phrase is always open to interpretation.
Especially in a musical.
Yeah. Well, the poster is very clear. We've got this golden god who is singing
Today.
singing to amphitheater full of millions of people.
Today.
Or later, I guess, in the plot. But so the movie's like, how is he going to get there? He's just an assistant Jewish cantor who. That's the problem. Okay, there's a lot of problems with this movie, obviously, but they do a hard. I feel like you kind of have to like infer yourself, but it's like the building blocks to get from Neil Diamond, the songwriter who David Bowie is yelling at in the studio, to then be famous. It's just basically like, hey, if enough people see Neil Diamond at a big show, he's gonna get famous.
Just sidetrack here for a little bit.
Yes.
Neil Diamond writes a ballad. The pop singer guy speeds it up and starts singing it, and then Neil Diamond repeats over and over again, "You gotta do a ballad." And here, let me play it for you. Of course, he should have been fired.
Well, yeah. I mean, but to be fair, that's one of the few clever plot things is that he's basically sabotaged his job and lost the job. But Lucy Arnaz, who was in the booth, was like, hey, I love that schmaltzy ballad you did in the studio. Let me be your manager. So at least they sort of did not a misdirect, but like a conflation of things. That was like the only clever beat in the movie. Because the rest of the movie is like, Lucy Arnaz they literally do the same scene 3 times where Lucy Arnaz talks to that fat record executive who has an Oldsmobile, and like,
Yeah.
and Jess Robin gets gigs, and then the gigs get bigger, and then he becomes famous. And they just sort of shove some dramatic scenes in the middle to make it feel like there's tension or you're waiting. And then there's that. We'll get to the Dark Knight of the Soul thing with the beard in a second. That's the dumbest part of the whole movie. But anyway, so the whole point, fun and games. Hey, we're gonna take this guy who is clearly Neil Diamond, but no one cares, and he's gonna get famous and become Neil Diamond, and we're gonna watch the progression.
Mhm.
Is that fun? Maybe not, but
And he just has no resistance. Personal-wise, he has a lot of resistance, so he doesn't get what he wants personally, which that's I guess good. That's drama's built on
yeah.
trying to do things like getting there. Musically, he does get fired from that one job, but then he just immediately he shows us on someone else, and they love it, and they hire him to a gig, and then he gets bigger gigs, and gets bigger gigs. There's no turn back on his professional life, really. It's just upward trajectory the whole time.
He never has a bad show, and everyone who hears his music loves it. It's just a matter of getting enough people to hear it, to them love it. So, what was I anything else I want to say about that? Oh yeah, so the plot just sort of becomes that. We're not gonna get every scene or whatever, but what comes along to take this joy. Wait, one thing I want to mention first.
What?
Before that, because in the middle of this fun and games and career growth, they just sort of shove in that Rivka, the first wife or whatever, goes to LA to see him perform. She's like, "Hey, you're really good at performing, but I don't want to be married to you if you're going to keep performing." And then off camera, they get divorced. And the movie's just like, keep going. It's good. There was no dramatic, loss.
I don't like this movie either, but I'm going to defend that because he says his vision of the future is that she moves out with him and they live in LA while he becomes famous. And so then that's the only way he's going to be happy. And then she says no to that. So then there's no future for them. I did not think it was weird they got divorced off camera. I thought it was pretty clear they were donezo forever after when they talked.
I'm just saying. We'll talk about in a second. He loses his mind when he loses his dad's affection. But he loses his wife's affection, and he's like, well, I get to fuck Lucy Arnaz. See you later.
It's a little bit of delay, but it's different because he's so close to his family.
All right, so let's get to the Dark Night of the Soul because it's the dumbest part of the movie. So like I mentioned, the reason Neil Diamond can't be happy forever. I'm a jazz singer. That's my Neil Young impression.
Oh my god, no one needed to hear that.
Let me do it again. All right. So his dad comes to LA and discovers that he's married to a white woman, and
he's not coming back to New York
yeah. So Laurence Olivier loses his shit and does that weird Jewish scream that Laurence Olivier does, where he's like, "Oh, I don't have a son." Oh.
He tears a piece of his clothes off and throws it at him. And why do you tear off his clothes? Because when someone's dead to you, you tear off a piece of your clothes.
So this is the dumbest part of the movie. I've been hinting at it 10,000 times in my dialogue. So he gets upset that his dad left, which is not the dumb part. And he goes in the studio and he just starts yelling at everyone very haphazardly because the movie's like, hey, you got to show that you're irrational and upset. So just sort of act like a dick all the time.
I'm a dick.
And then he leaves the studio and his wife,
who's pregnant,
I know, abandons her, grows a beard, and starts driving to a truck stop to do gigs.
He takes a bus and just drive, and then he does gigs across the country, and then he was apparently gonna keep doing it forever, and then the most prominent of his bandmates, the
Franklin Ajayi, yes,
finds him and says, "Look, there's baby pictures," and oh, okay, I'll come home. So he's gonna abandon his family forever unless that happened. I don't,
because if this movie was secretly a comedy, this would be the big comedic joke is that he quit the music, and then a day later he grew a giant beard and was living in a truck stop because it was just very random, and they were just trying to demonstrate that he went through a change. So of course, if you have a change, you gotta grow facial hair.
You gotta find his roots, I guess.
And he plays "You Are My Sunshine" because was that Charles Durning in the bar? Or just the guy looked like Charles Durning? It was fat bartender.
I don't think it was Charles Durning. That was around the time of Muppet Movie, and it did not look like Charles Durning from Muppet Movie to me.
He might have been a recognizable character actor of a different kind. But anyway, fat guy's like, such weird dialogue. You got any requests for a song for Neil Diamond to play for you? How about You Are My Sunshine? And then he does a gig where he plays You Are My Sunshine in a peppy Neil Diamond way.
Great song.
It's a okay song. It's kind of a standard, but whatever. Yeah.
Standards can be great. It's probably called standards. They stand the test of time.
All right. Fair enough.
I'm gonna throw tear a piece of my clothes and throw it. You can walk off the podcast.
So the two things that bring him back to the brink and allow the movie to end on the high note is, like you said, he reconciles the fact that I can't live in truck stops and hang out with fat bartenders, and he goes back to his baby and his wife, and then he's not talking to his dad, and Lucy Arnaz is like, hey, you really got to talk to your dad, and the opportunity comes because the old Jewish character actor who is Laurence Olivier's friend is like,
Leo, I think his name is character name.
Laurence Olivier's got high blood pressure. Can you sub in as Cantor for one night?
Because he can't think he's forced to retire. He's medically forced to retire from singing for the rest of his life. He's in a really bad shape. And Yom Kippur's coming up.
So Neil Diamond's like, I don't want to talk to my dad because he was mean to me, or he disowned me and stuff, which is fair. No, that sounded insulting, but that's fair. But Lucy Arnaz is like, hey, you got to try to reconcile with your dad. So he goes,
it's Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Hammering over the head with themes here.
To be fair, this is probably the best scene between Neil Diamond and Laurence Olivier in the movie, which is not saying a lot, but
because it's more understated. Yes.
Yes. They, Laurence Olivier still refuses to listen to Neil Diamond, but then Neil Diamond pulls out the picture of the baby, and Laurence Olivier's touched because it looks like Jess, and it looks like his dead wife, Neil Diamond's mom. So, in a move that will be criticized in my final review, we cut to
dun, dun, dun.
we cut to the Coming to America. Is that what it's called? The song?
How could you not know that song's called Coming? Not called. Are you questioning that song's called Coming to America?
Whatever.
Of course, it's called Coming to America.
Because I always think of the Eddie Murphy movie, but damn it. All right, anyway,
Good morning, New York.
we cut to the giant concert because Lucy Arnaz won over the fat record store owner who owns an Oldsmobile, and
She just breaks into his car a few times, and it's fun and games.
yeah, hilarious. And then giant concert, and then Laurence Olivier is sitting in the crowd, and he's like, I don't know about this Neil Diamond music, and then he goes like, yeah, and then
He claps and sings along during the song.
and then Neil Diamond goes, yeah, and then it turns into the poster, and the movie's over.
Thank God I didn't go. What, you want an epilogue with his first birthday or something?
Okay, look, I know this movie was bad, and we're glad it's over, and it's not 3 hours long as opposed to 2 hours long. 2 hours was too long, by the way. This movie stretched to get to 2. It's ridiculous it's 2 hours long with that plot. But, like I said, in general, before we get to reviews, I would have loved more character nuance and dialogue that wasn't about the plot, but this movie's not capable of that, so, whatever. Yeah. But the structure was very strong. If I degrade the structure on a basic, it did the thing. But at the same time, it's a boring, repetitive movie, easy to predict. So it's like a 5. That's a mix.
Give it lower than that. The only appeal of this movie at all is that Neil Diamond song is good. Yes, it hits the beats of a story, but just a story you've heard before with a lead actor who can't act, which does affect how you feel about the structure, I believe. So I would go 2 or 3-ish. Because the songs are good at times.
And I thought there was an affability to a lot of the characters, although mostly just Neil Diamond and Lucy Arnaz. But, yeah. Not so much structure, but whatever. All right, time for the trivia break. So, rapid fire-ish. Movie's called The Jazz Singer, so name these jazz singers. All right, question number 1. Known as Little Jimmy, a contralto ballad singer who had a late career resurgence in the 1990s. Songs include Sycamore Trees, Day by Day, and When Did You Leave Heaven?
Wow. Give me this difficult. James Brown?
Little Jimmy Scott. I never heard of him before, but apparently he's a good singer.
Oh, great trivia question. People never heard of it.
Okay. Don't knock the whole
Keep going.
positivity is killing me. Okay, 50 singer and actress who gave me fever.
Peggy Lee.
Yes. See that all heart? See? He's blind. What did I say? That's funny when I read it.
I think Zombie Ray Charles is gonna get you for that one.
Zombie Ray Charles loves me, Kobe fan. All right. The Queen of the Blues. That's her nickname. Who's saying, "What a difference a day made," and "Teach me tonight."
Edith James.
I guess, but it's Dinah Washington. He has a comically gravelly voice. What a wonderful world.
Louis Armstrong.
Yeah. Known as Sassy, the Divine One, and the Queen of Bebop, also played the piano. A Lover's Concerto and Misty were her two biggest songs.
Oh, Fitzgerald.
Sarah Vaughan,
She played the piano.
apparently.
My funny Valentine. Very deep voice tone.
Known as Lady Day.
Billie Holiday. Move on.
Hey! Why didn't spend a line at home? Try not to interrupt the questions. Not that long. Lady Day, who liked to grow trains fruit. Billie Holiday is the answer. Yep. The first African American talk show host ever. That was unforgettable.
Nat King Cole.
Yes. The chairman of the board who did it my way.
Wow, I thought they were doing black people. I don't know. I guess. Well, Peggy Lee was white too, but I guess this is Neil Diamond movie. Although he was doing blackface. Frank Sinatra.
Janice don't know no skin color or something like that. She likes to scat sing "It's a Lovely Day Today" and she did a duet called "Cheek to Cheek."
This is Ella Fitzgerald.
Yes. Let's talk about the pacing of this movie. It tries to go fairly fast, but like I mentioned, it's padded it out to 2 hours, and it gets boring. So I give it negative marks on pacing, despite its alleged tempo or whatever. It is a musical, so you have to keep whatever. Still low, 2.
Yeah, I mean, it is a musical, like going in, so pacing's not going to be its strong suit. You have to stop to do songs. The ballad in the studio is way too slow. But it was a pretty breezy watch. I don't think pacing was that bad. If he doesn't feel like you're getting slogged down, I think you have to give it some credit on pacing. So, 8.
Yeah.
I watched it in one go on Tubi, even with the commercials.
Yeah.
Me. Great analysis.
So talk about tone. You can also talk about visual tone if you want. That was my main takeaway from this movie is that I don't know if just like early 80s movies don't age very well on digital technology, but this movie was shot like shit. A lot of the outdoor shots had a very like odd, dark, reddish tone to them, and it wasn't great design on a lot of the shots. So tone-wise and emotional too, it just felt very disjointed. Like it wanted to be dramatic, but it was light, but it wasn't like funny light. It was just this disposable tone. One.
Visually, I actually thought it was most like the 70s. We're watching a bunch of films from 1980 lately, and this looked like the most 70s film we've seen out of all of them. Especially because Molly's character lives in a beach condo, I guess, something like that, and it just looks very 70s-ish. And then it's kind of a mess in terms of emotional tone because the Hebrew cantor stuff is dark, and then it gets silly in LA, and then before you know it, Neil Diamond and Lucy Ernest have a sex scene with Neil Diamond's prosthetic-looking chest hair. It's probably real.
Yeah, I would say Neil Diamond's acting sort of alienates a lot of the dramatic readings of this movie. And you're just kind of like, whoa, this is Neil Diamond. Yep. Like I was telling you off camera, it's kind of like watching a movie that's supposed to be really bad, like The Room, or maybe like a anti comedy that you see on Adult Swim or something. It's very just all over the place. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
Especially Lucy Arnaz in the beginning. I guess you seem to be discounting it, but she's screwball smart cracks in
I
that first
guess
half of the film.
as someone who uses humor to attempt to make people like me in conversation, seems somewhat relatable, but definitely see it being seen as arch or filmic or whatever. Yeah, yeah. Fair, fair. Uh, yes, let's talk about originality. This is weird to me because the Jewish stuff seemed wholly unoriginal. Like, why are we doing 20s movie stuff now? But then again, I've never seen a biopic that was so flat in terms of like, let's do a biopic about Neil Diamond. Like it was just does okay pop songs that people like sometimes. It's very original and almost an alien, unlikable way, but it is very original. So I'll give it fairly moderate marks on that, like 6 or 7, just because it's so bizarre to watch.
Connect with the middle schoolers.
6, 7.
6, 7. Um, yeah, I have to go much lower on original because yes, the Neil Diamond part and I guess how detailed uh, Cantor with Rabbi and all that stuff, and people, and you don't see credit to Jewish celebrating Jewish culture, I guess, with a lot of people in that type of attire in the New York scenes or whatever. But the struggle of family versus fame, I think that was like some of the first movies ever made in the Thomas Edison era. I don't, this whole movie is so it's wholly unoriginal. It's like 1 or 0 or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I didn't even like it when I praised it, but yeah, I agree. I kind of agree with what you said. So let's talk about marketability, which we kind of morphed into tell someone you want to watch it. This movie's weird because yes, it's bad. It's got bad acting, and it fails at being the drama it wants to be. But nothing really bad happens in this movie. The actors are mostly fairly likable. Has a very positive theme, positive ending. Very watchable, and this is an essential viewing for the kind of people I would hang out with who would be like, watch bad movies. Neil Diamond is like Tommy Wiseau, but with good songs. So I would recommend this movie to people who want to watch bad movies and stuff. So for overall marketability to my friends or whatever, this is shockingly high for me. So I'll say like 7.
Tommy was so.
I mean, they both can't act, so I mean, what's the difference?
Oh, hi, Mark. It's just Tommy was always his own category. Neil Diamond,
Yeah,
as bad as he is, you're gonna make Neil Diamond feel like Laurence Olivier comparing him to Tommy Wiseau.
I stand by it though. The oddness of his performance is so interesting that it's compelling.
I don't know. Marketability is hard because you can't. This is not the Razzie screwed up, and this is a great film. 'Cause it's definitely not that. Um, you could, in theory, if you have a Neil Diamond friend, if you do have a Neil Diamond friend, they're probably very old, that obsessed with their songs. But I was kind of hoping he would do Crocklin' Rosie or what's that song called? It goes, She's got a way to move
Cherry
on.
Cherry, but I think this movie specifically had songs he had written for this album, not let alone movie.
So it's not it's not his best work in that regard. So the only appeal is so bad it's good, and it's not that bad. You know, Neil Diamond can't act. So I just avoid unless you really want to watch all the musicals.
But what about the fact that, like I said, it was like it's got a positive message, however vague, however bland it is, and it's watchable and it's not like offensive or anything. I mean, it's worth spending your time.
It's not. get a positive message from watching Sesame Street. I don't know. You have to
Sesame Street's good too.
go to films to watch a cinematic experience. This is definitely not that. So I don't recommend it to really anyone.
I do think there's more appeal to the songs than to a lot of people than you're saying, but it's
not his best.
It's your opinion. But yeah.
You're just saying, Fred, hey, it's got Neil Diamond songs, and then they, like I was expecting Cherry Cherry or Cracklin' Rosie type songs, and it wasn't quite that level. I did like the songs.
Fair. All right, let's talk about the awards. Let's do the Golden Globes first.
Wow.
So like I said, it was nominated for Golden Globes. Ad campaign, the awards campaign paid off because Neil Diamond was nominated for Best Actor at the Golden Globes.
At that point, were they splitting it for musical comedy?
Yes, but still, don't get nominated, please.
I know.
He lost to Ray Sharkey in, oddly enough, a movie called The Idolmaker, which is also a musical film. It's a fictional movie about a record producer in the 50s who discovered Fabian and Ray Avalon. What's his name? Is that Frankie Avalon. So, similar movies.
Well,
in a way. Both about record producers and artists becoming successful and stuff.
It's more truly historical. This is topping Neil Diamond to a fictional thing.
It's still about a musician being discovered by a record label.
Yes, there's more similarities than this than Jazz Singer and Schindler's List. Yes, I agree, but
whoa.
Well, they're both Jewish.
Both Jewish, yeah.
Damn it. Didn't mean to do that. God damn it.
Like your own petard. Lucy Arnaz was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, which I agree with. I mean,
I don't think she did a good job in her dramatic scenes.
Wow.
And then she's doing the screwball thing.
As we'll get to, there are critics who disagree with you and agree with me. But yes. And the winner of that award was a movie that sounds very good. Coin a phrase, which I'll watch that instead of this. Mary Steenburgen in Melvin and Howard, about a man who is attached to a potentially libelous, what do you call it? The thing after you die, what's it called?
Will?
Yes, led by Howard Hughes. Directed by Jonathan Demme, by the way. Yes. And then...
Jonathan Demme directed Silence of the Lambs?
Yes. So
Ted Demme.
Timeline-wise, this is close to the first big Jonathan Demme movie, because I think I'm more as an 80s director, but yeah.
And he did music with Stop Making Sense.
Yeah, that was even like 5 years after that, or at least, but yeah. Anyway, everyone's favorite song, Pour Me a Drink, I'll Tell You Some Lies. Love on the Rocks was nominated for Song of the Year, which is a mediocre choice from this movie, honestly. There's a lot of better songs.
But it was original for this song movie, I imagine. Coming to America had probably been done before.
I don't know the full list of what's original, what's not, but definitely a lot more original than just Love on the Rocks in this movie. Yes. Fame won the award, which I never liked that song. It's fine.
Better than Love on the Rocks.
Freaking 9 to 5 was nominated. That should have won. And Call Me was nominated because that was on the American Gigolo soundtrack. That was a million times better than all those songs, too.
Call Me because I'm a gigolo. I get it.
I'm just a gigolo.
Nope.
Everywhere I go.
They're getting worse.
I'm just a gigolo. Neil Young.
God, you're really making Neil Young seem like he's about to die in a cancer ward.
He just has a bad voice. Okay, talk about the Razzie Awards. Jazz Singer was nominated for Worst Picture. Lost to Can't Stop the Music. Probably Can't Stop the Music was worse, but
definitely
going off first time watching both, I was at least a little intrigued on what the fuck was going on with Can't Stop the Music a little more. Probably worse, but yeah.
That's how movie critics are too. If they can't figure it out, and it's multiple genres, that's the movies that get the worst reviews, and they don't punish hard enough films that copy tropes, and this is more trope heavy.
They're like, it's like a beautiful symmetry. They're terrible in different and complementary ways. Probably, yeah. Richard Fleischer was nominated for Worst Director, but lost to Robert Greenwald. It's kind of same principle. Richard Fleischer's movie, this one was boring, and Xanadu was fun but poorly held together. So I don't know. They're both bad in different ways. Your thoughts?
Uh, I think just in terms of how it looks, Jazz Singer is a higher quality film. It probably had a bigger budget than Xanadu.
I love Xanadu minus the boring parts, but there's a lot of fun stuff in there. But at the same time, Robert Greenwald doesn't seem like a good director, so it's a fun debate. Neil Diamond won Worst Actor in total. No contest as far as I'm concerned. I can't remember everyone he beat. He did beat the guy from Battlestar Galactica in Xanadu. It's one of them. Neil Diamond's just terrible, so why not?
It's out of his depth, like totally. So it's very fair that he won.
And then we're not going to get into who won the other Best Supporting Actor because it was a tie. But Laurence Olivier won Worst Supporting Actor. This is classic Razzies. I agree 100%. The Jewish impression and the hyperbolic moments. It was just not entirely Laurence Olivier's fault. Obviously, he probably did it for the paycheck because he's old. But yeah, terrible performance. I agree.
Yeah, and the writer, I think it was multiple writers, didn't do him a solid by making him so one note and so clingy and needy to have Jess Rabinovich stay in the fold the whole time.
All right,
Could give us more depth.
and then this is the worst one of this movie because it was nominated for Worst Original Song. Can you guess which song was nominated for Worst Original Song?
Can't remember all of them. Is it Love on the Rocks?
No, it's probably my favorite song of the songs I heard for the first time watching this movie. It takes a lot of time to make love. It takes a lot of time. Oh, you baby, baby. I think he sings in the Black Club. I can't remember, but it's called You Baby Baby.
Oh, well, he's in blackface when he sings it, so I could see why.
Yeah,
Did that win or to get nominated?
nominated. That's a great song. I would have picked "You Are My Sunshine," which I know you.
Oh my God!
Or no, the one I think should have picked for this movie is his Hava Nagila. That was terrible.
Oh my God! It's an important song to Jewish culture.
He sang it bad.
I totally disagree.
Wow. What you think it's better that you think that Hava Nagila is better than You Baby? Worse than You Baby? Better than You Baby Baby?
He's a blackface while he's singing. I don't blame the Razzies for that sticking their craw in this.
You're sticking on my craw.
Well, fucking break your craw.
I'm gonna do craw. Probably got a brand new craw. Make old. All right. All right. Get short review, one sentence ish score, and then I think, well, are we gonna maintain individual ratings or just do a master one? You can do an individual one.
Who's mastering? You like we work together to come up with a score?
Not score, the entirety of the Razzie movies.
Oh, I need to keep a list of. I need to.
I remember.
Watch enough for them to rank them.
I believe for you it would be: is it better than The Formula or worse than Can't Stop the Music?
Dude, this is the formula's the best one.
Cruising or The Formula? It's up to you. But I thought you said Formula.
Oh God, not cruising.
Those are the only two main candidates for best Razzie movie so far. So
Everybody hold into your naked butts, as Samuel Jackson said in Jurassic Park. That's why I think.
So okay, give your review and score first, and then do the thing.
Well, I like some of the songs. It's a far too derivative plot of fame versus family, which Hollywood's gonna make 5 more of these in the next month. 3 out of 10. It's somewhere near the bottom of the Razzie movies, nowhere near the top of we've seen so far. So it's, but it's above Can't Stop the Music.
All right, and then yeah, so yeah, Yeah, I didn't like the movie that much, but I want to use Siskel and Ebert to make my notes for me real quick. So Ebert said this is a tough movie to review because you end up making a list of complaints, and I think that's really true. This movie is a infinitum of complaining about various problems, which Gene Siskel, to his credit, went into great detail about. So I know you didn't agree, but I agree with him that Lucie Arnaz was able to get some quiet moments of humanity in the movie, but every other actor in the movie can't act or choose the scenery by overacting, and I agree with that. And then the movie loses a lot of its credibility because it makes Neil Diamond do a lot of weird stuff, like he's singing a song at a bar mitzvah, and then he's singing a pop romance song, and he's doing an impersonation of what he says Willie Nelson on a drunken lost weekend. It's a little hyperbolic, but
Those were like Waylon Jennings to me with that beard, but
yeah, I don't agree with that. But I do agree that was the weirdest part of the movie, was the growing a beard and becoming a bar crawler for like 5 minutes, and then the reading of the "My Country 'Tis of Thee" in the middle of America. I know that's how he wrote the song, but it is still silly that that's in there. Yeah. And he made an interesting point because Gene Siskel is a lot more religious than you or I are, and I kind of agree with this point because the underpinning of the movie is basically Neil Diamond has to choose between his orthodoxy in Judaism or becoming a pop singer. And Gene Siskel's point is, doesn't it make sense that your Jewish faith would mean more to you than just tossing it to the side for the other one? And I think that's a big problem with the emotions of this movie, is that the decisions are kind of thrown about like lightning. So all that being said, this movie seems in a big rush to get to the ending, but there wasn't satisfaction along the way. So I struggle to think what I enjoyed about this movie other than ironic detachment and making fun of it. 3 out of 10 for the ironic detachment, making fun of it. Oh, by the way, so my best movie is Cruising because I love weirdo movies and gay cops, and then my least favorite movie is the boring formula jazz singer. Is, yeah, it's well made, has good moments. I like Lucie Arnaz, so fairly high for Razzies, but not good, not the best either. All right, before we go, Marcus, it's time for everyone's favorite trivia quiz. Can you guess the next movie we're going to watch?
dun, dun, dun.
There's a partial answer I will accept, which you'll feel very, very clear in a second. But you know the rules. I'll give you a clue. You have to guess the movie, and then keep going rapid fire. Okay. The next movie is a spy film directed by Clive Donner. The director of What's New Pussycat and other British comedy films.
The Falcon and the Snowman.
It's based on a television show.
Mission Impossible. No, that makes sense.
This television show was co-created by Buck Henry.
Oh my god, are we watching The Naked Bomb?
It's
New
called
Bomb?
The New Bomb. I'm surprised you knew the title. You're aware of the movie?
I've heard of it. I've never seen a second of it, but
I've seen it, and it's depressingly disappointing. But we're going to talk about it next week on Twin Bill. Anywhere around the world.
today!
They use clocks in America.
Today!
Good morning, America.
My country, 'tis of thee, today!
Book me on your shows, or let's be best friends and hang out, maybe. I don't know.